All right, so welcome back. This is Mickey's Earbuds, and Justin and I are the Earbuds. My name is David,
My name is Justin.
and it's good to be back with you guys. I know that Disney's been going through some different things right now with the park shut down, but it's for our good right now that people get better, that we get through this, and so we wanted to talk this week about the transportation options that you find at Disney, specifically Walt Disney World. Tell you some stuff about them, our experiences, tons of trivia. See if Justin can figure out some of these things or if he knows it. He has a longer park experience than I do, so it's going to be kind of a real test on his knowledge as far as the transportation goes. But
But it's important to note though that even though that we can't get to the parks right now, it's kind of the perfect time to be, as they say, dreaming and planning that perfect Disney vacation anyway. So, I mean, let's talk about that kind of stuff.
yeah, and it's just fun anyway. So okay, Justin, let's start with our this or that segment. This today it's going to be a would you rather.
Okay.
All right, so would you rather be there at rope drop or stay for the fireworks?
Hmm. I would rather be there at rope drop. I'm a get in there before the crowds kind of guy.
Okay.
But that's
This one,
also from the experienced traveler perspective. Obviously, from the first timer, you're gonna want to see those fireworks. But anyway,
yeah, that's if you're staying on property, you can do both. Next one, quick service or reservations?
hmm,
Would you rather have a quick service meal or a reservation meal?
depends on the park or the resort, as it were. Because yeah, different locales, different preferences. Magic Kingdom, I'm gonna lean quick service. Epcot, going to lean towards table service, I guess. And then Hollywood Studios, definitely gonna lean table service. Animal Kingdom, definitely going to lean quick service. And then after that, resorts are just kind of a mixed bag. So it really does. It depends on the locale.
All right, here's the next one. Would you rather go on a boat ride or a thrill ride?
Whew. See, I am a thrill junkie at heart. So I'm going to go with the thrill rides.
No, Pirates of the Caribbean.
I do love my boat rides. There's no question about it. And I even one of those people who likes to go on them multiple times if I'm afforded the opportunity. But at the end of the day, I'm still a thrill junkie.
All right, fair enough. Next one. Would you rather stay off property or stay on property? And I mean like on the equivalents. So like we're talking the Waldorf or the Four Seasons, or the same equivalents on property.
Okay, so comparing apples to apples.
Yes.
Um,
So let's do top deluxes versus semi on property deluxes, but not officially run by Disney.
right. I'm definitely going to stay on property.
And finally, the question you didn't know was coming. Would you rather dress cute or dress comfy?
uh, uh, well,
This is important. All the ladies want to know. But
in my
only your
own
wife, because no other lady can should care.
in my own way, I'm definitely going to dress cute. Of course, now cute here means some nice shorts and a Hawaiian shirt that some people would consider tacky, but I'm definitely going to go that route.
All right. All right. Justin picks cute over comfy. All right, that is official forever.
We're going to make a note of that. It's going
Yes.
to be in permanent ink. Yes, somewhere.
The legendary elusive man cute.
Lock that away in the Mickey's earbuds vault.
See, I would have justified it a little different. I'd be like, well, I guess cute. If you mean by cute meaning my wife likes what I'm wearing, then yes, I would say that. All right, I'll give you one out though. Cute shoes or comfy shoes?
Oh, comfy shoes.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt there.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
wear cute shoes. Don't do it,
I,
ladies.
I, I've always wondered when I've looked back at the old time pictures of when Disneyland in California opened up in the 50s, and you see those women walk around in their high heels, and I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, I know that was kind of the thing back then, but I'm just like, gosh, we've come so far in such a good way as a society when women can feel comfortable walking into a theme park wearing comfy shoes.
You know what though? Back then, everyone looked good and everyone was uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
know, you and I would have had to wear a tie into the theme park and not comfy loafers like business loafers.
Yeah.
So they were up on like 3-inch heels, but you and I would have been on basically wood beams with somebody slightly choking us.
Yeah.
So, so, uh, yeah, I understand. So yes, don't wear the cute shoes, wear the comfy shoes. Though I will say there are some people who just get decked out to go in the parks.
Yeah, they call it Disney bounding, some of them, where they have an outfit that's really inspired by a character, but it isn't an actual costume.
Well, I'm
Uh,
not even talking about that. I know they do the Dapper Days, and like you're saying, you can't cosplay in the parks because of certain costume regulation rules.
right, you don't want to be confused for an actual character.
Yeah, but you can like people will wear like the same color scheme of their favorite princess or their favorite character. I've seen that. It's actually pretty cool. But I'm talking like, full makeup. It's August. You're sweating that right off. Or this guy, he will be dressed to the nines and not in the dapper kind of way. And I'm in a t-shirt and shorts to be comfortable, and he's wearing uncomfortable dress shoes. And some people, this is their only time ever going.
Hey,
Oof.
some people, you see them, it used to be just on Star Wars weekends, but now it's all the time. You see the guys dressed out in their decked out in their Jedi garb. Some
Oof.
people who are a little bit more bold, uh, decked out in their Sith garb, so they're just wearing that nice flat black under the hot Florida sun. Always a
Some of
good
them,
idea.
yeah. Oh no. Well, hey, you know what? Everyone has to love something, so I wouldn't do it because of I wouldn't want to melt. But
Right.
whatever makes them happy, right? So whatever makes them happy. All
Yeah.
right, so let's get on to our topic now that we've digressed into cuteness over comfiness. Um, Talking about Disney transportation, Walt Disney World, as opposed to Disneyland, Disneyland has their own transportation systems, does their own transportation things. Walt Disney World has a very well, I mean, it's basically the size of a county, the whole of the Walt Disney World property. Um,
Yeah, twice the size of the Isle of Manhattan, about the size of the city of San Francisco. So you're you not only do they have diverse transportation options, they need diverse transportation options.
and they have nothing short of it. Walt Disney World Resort owns, and this is as of, I'm not sure if these are current numbers, but these are the most recent numbers I could find as of 2017. 486 buses, 12 monorails. I could not find the number of um, Skyliner gondolas. I couldn't find how many they had.
Oh, yeah, that's a fairly new addition, so I imagine those numbers aren't released yet.
They have 3 ferries.
Yep.
They have
And they all have names,
yes, they do. They have 15 riverboats.
and
They
they
have
have names.
Yeah, they have names. They have 28 parking trams.
They don't have names.
They should have names. 9 what are classified as friendship boats, 3 motor cruisers, 7 motor launches, just to name a few things that they have. And of course, they have the 4 trains inside the Magic Kingdom as well.
Yes. And
There
they have
is a lot of transportation options. And then, of course, the most recently, the minivans that are all around property operated by, I think, Lyft. So
yes.
there's a lot of transportation options.
They're operated by Lyft, but they're priced by Disney.
Now here's a fun one question. Let's do some trivia while we're doing this. How many monorails currently does Walt Disney World Resort have?
Currently,
Currently.
11.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Oh, they used
And
to have 12, but then there was a time they were down to 11. I guess they're back up to 12 now.
yes, they've at max time they've had 14. They retired Monorail Pink and Monorail Purple.
Yes, that I did know.
Yeah, so they have currently 12 as we speak. Though I guess that they're retiring Teal at some point as well. So the names of the monorails don't have names in the same way that the ferries do.
They have colors.
They have color schemes. That's right. So if you ever see the monorail, they have the colors along the side. They're actually pretty sharp looking. Their color, there's monorail blue, monorail black, monorail coral, gold, green, lime, orange, peach, red, silver, teal, and yellow. So there is quite a few options. I like the monorails because they're air conditioned.
Yeah, that's a good reason to like them.
They're cool. There are cities in the U.S. that have monorails, but not a whole lot. Now that I think about it, I think there's a few cities out on the West Coast that have them.
Most more of an international thing.
Yeah, most American cities have actually gotten away with elevated trains, and Justin, you might know more about this than I do, but from what I gather is they're a real difficulty to repair, and they're a real difficulty to clean up if they have an accident, meaning like they break down. Like it's really hard to clean up a broken down monorail. Like you really have to. It takes forever to get people out and so on and so forth. So the fact that Disney is still
to tow it on back and everything, it takes some work.
And they can do that. They do actually have tow cars. I don't know. Have you ever seen the tow cars?
No, I've seen. Well, I don't think I have anyway. I've seen a monorail tractor that kind of refines and resurfaces the beamway, but that's it.
Yeah, the tractor also is what will tow the monorail if it needs to be towed off the track into the roundhouse. One of the cool things they've been doing the monorail, I don't know, maybe you can tell me, for a long time now, they'll sometimes put stickering on the sides of them and they'll advertise the new movies or the new rides. Yes. I remember seeing Toy Story 4 on it. That was pretty cool. I know they did The Incredibles. I know they've done various Marvel movies.
They've done Monsters University. They did Tron Legacy. They did the Avengers.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yep.
That's and so they'll do that, and it's a pretty good experience. Now, Justin, you have that mug about the monorail.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. Yes.
Please stand clear of the doors. There is some. If you've been on it enough, like there's a lot of little inside things. Now, did you go to Disney when they used to allow kids up in the very front of the monorail? Like you could actually sit with the driver?
Yes, I was one of those kids at one point.
Oh man, tell me about that. They don't allow that anymore.
Yes. And the best thing about that was, for as much or as little as my parents were aware of about Disney property, one thing that they did figure out, which I was extremely grateful for, was if you're going to gun for that front seat, you're going to do it on the Epcot circuit rather than the Magic Kingdom circuit because it's a whole lot longer of a ride. And so that's what they did, is I got to ride up front in the monorail with the monorail pilot and do that all the way from the Magic Kingdom area to Epcot, which is, I don't know, it's probably about 15 minutes long or so. But yeah, that was a fun ride.
Yeah, and it serves a good point to say the monorail. I've heard certain people said they came in on monorail, like purple, which is retired, and that they came from Animal Kingdom to Disney Springs. Okay, so maybe in their mind they did, but it doesn't do that.
Yes.
The monorail goes from the Ticketing and Transportation Center to the Grand Floridian.
Excuse me. One.
It goes to the Polynesian Village Resort, then the Grand Floridian, then the Magic Kingdom Park proper, then the Contemporary, and then back to the Ticketing and Transportation Center.
Yes.
And it's one loop. That loop it doesn't go off that loop. It doesn't magic its way to the Animal Kingdom Park.
Right.
It does
There's
do that.
Yeah, and at the transportation and ticket center becomes kind of a transfer hub. So if you're deciding to take the monorail to Epcot, which is the only other theme park that it visits, you would actually have to, assuming you were coming from Magic Kingdom, disembark at the transportation ticket center and walk around and get the monorail that goes over to Epcot. So you do have to make a transfer there. The other thing of note is that in the monorail circuit at the Magic Kingdom, there's actually two circuits there. One of them is hitting all the resorts in the Magic Kingdom and the Transportation Ticket Center, and the other one is just going from the Transportation Ticket Center to the Magic Kingdom and back, and it's just passing through the resorts.
Yeah, and it's pretty. That's more direct and it's quicker than the ferry.
Yes.
You'll get people who take the other route to go see the resorts. It stops at every resort, and you'll see people getting on and off all the time. Where some people will go to the ticketing and transportation center, park, and all they'll do is they'll just go to the resorts and just hop on and go see their various resorts. It actually, and some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, it does not go into the Polynesian. It does not go into the Grand Floridian, but the monorail actually passes through the Contemporary Resort, which is it's really cool to watch it happen. And so if you ever get a chance, that's at night, sometimes they even park a monorail in the Contemporary Resort. I think they did even so during hurricanes. They'll sometimes park a monorail in the resort.
Yep.
To keep, because they do have a roundhouse, and I think it does hold all of them, but sometimes they just want to put some of them elsewhere for just safety purposes. So you'll see, I think there's two beams inside the Contemporary, right? Yes.
There's two beams because the express monorail still, even though it doesn't stop in the Contemporary, still passes through the Contemporary.
Yeah.
And the other thing of note too is that they could do it just simply to have a quick start the next day, excuse me, with the monorail already, a couple of monorails already ready to run the circuit first thing in the morning, because otherwise it kind of takes a little bit of time for them to switch beams over from one to the other and get the ones out of the roundhouse and onto the circuit. So
yeah, I'm sure they do that regularly, but they probably operate two different ones in the morning and then probably two different ones in the afternoon. And I'd imagine, and it's just to minimize wear to maximize repair time. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but in my head that makes sense. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So okay, you were saying we're talking about getting. Let's stay at this area. Stay at the Magic Kingdom area. You were saying that they have the ferries and they all have names. Do you know the ferry names off the top of your head?
One of them is the Admiral Joe Fowler, I believe, and the other one that I know of is the General Joe Potter, as I recall, but I don't remember the third one.
I'm actually looking it up as we speak because I know you're right about the Admiral name. There is the Richard F. Irvine, the Admiral Joe Fowler, and the General Joe Potter.
Yes. Now, I don't know about the Richard Irvine one, but I do know that, fun fact, the General Potter and Admiral Fowler, those are named after the actual general and admiral that oversaw the construction of the Disney World Resort when it was first opening, particularly the Magic Kingdom and surrounding resort area. So they were making a really big to do about making sure that everything was very well coordinated on that job site. So they had an actual Army general and Navy admiral on site directing the progress of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's really neat. The history of that, if you ever get a chance, that's something that's worth looking into. And the construction of Walt Disney World Resort is just the intentionality. I wish Walt had been able to see it, you know?
Yeah.
But
I mean, he planned a lot of it out before it got going, which was neat too. So
I know his brother got to see it, Roy.
Yes, Roy was there, and he unfortunately passed away just a little bit after the Magic Kingdom opened. But yeah, he was able to see it, and he oversaw the whole process.
Yeah. And so you have those ferry boats. They go in and out. You can also take what's the smaller ferries? It's not quite the long boats that you have, but they have like the two blue water taxis. These are kind of more developed ships.
Yeah.
They and then of course you could take the red water taxi. It's kind of from the Wilderness Lodge to the Magic Kingdom Park. It's kind of like an old fashioned. I'm trying to think what it's called. The red and then the green taxi. These are boats that look kind of like they're old wooden sailing ships. You had the big, what is it? The big ones that are kind of in between. I'm seeing
Yeah.
the name here. The two gold flag water taxis and
Yeah.
the two blue flag. These are ones that go from the Temporary and the Wilderness Lodge. They're a little bit more like a kind of cruiser you take with a glass bottom to see at the bottom of the Caribbean. Very, they're good boats. You have these water options, and then you have the monorail option, and of course you have the buses. They are all over. All right, Justin. See, here's what it is. You're kind of a train guy, right?
Yeah, well, my father is a retired railroad worker himself, and he kind of passed on his love for trains to me. So, yeah.
And how many train? You also have a model train set, though it's not currently set up.
Right, it's all in boxes at this point, having moved from one house to another years ago, and we just haven't set it up. But yes, into model railroading as well.
All right. So, how many trains do they have in the Magic Kingdom proper?
They have four.
All right. So Justin is cheating because he went to the railway tour.
They call it
They
the
offer in the
Magic
park.
Behind Our Steam Trains tour. A fantastic tour. I would say it's probably, and I am a little bit biased because of my love for trains, but it's probably the second best behind the scenes tour you can get at Magic Kingdom after Keys to the Kingdom.
So he has a personal perspective on this. So they have four trains. Do you know the names of the trains?
All right, you have the Walt Disney, the Roy Disney. I'm sorry if I want to go the full name here. The Walter E. Disney, the Roy O. Disney, the Lily Bell, and the Roger Brogy.
Yeah, they're. Did you look that up?
No, I didn't.
All right, I did. I did, so to make sure I would know what I was talking about. But yeah, they have these four trains. They collected them over from all over the world. I think they even got a couple from like South America or a couple out of Mexico.
Central America,
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, they were. I think a couple of the locomotives were actually running sugarcane or something like that.
they're all built by, curiously enough, the Baldwin Locomotive Works. I
Hmm.
don't know if that still exists anymore.
I don't think
Um,
it does.
the Roy O. Disney predates any. It's the oldest purpose-built one, and it what is it? Predates the Magic Kingdom's oldest purpose-built amusement attraction, the Prince Charming Regal Carousel, being built in 1917. So
Yeah.
it has been redone a few times, but it is built in 1916. The Roy O. Disney is it? Well, it's well over 100 years old now. So these are iconic American, old but very they've been running that long, very reliable pieces of machine. Disney had a love for trains. Justin, would you want to explain that just a little bit? You kind of have a much better grasp on that than I do.
Yes. First thing of note, and this is one of the, I guess, the pride of the Walt Disney World Resort, specifically the Magic Kingdom and the fantastic people that run these locomotives, is that the locomotives, as you just mentioned, they are authentic. They've been repurposed to go be used under a different fuel system, but they are authentic locomotives. The ones over at Disneyland were built to order for that park specifically. So they are not authentic per se, but yeah, so really neat piece of history there. And Walt Disney was definitely a big fan of trains. It made it into at least one of the short cartoons featuring Donald Duck and the Chipmunks, which was a lot of fun. If you can look that up, I forget what the name of cartoon is, but there's definitely a Donald Duck Chippendale cartoon with him having a model railroad, and the chipmunks move into one of the model houses in his model railroad. It's kind of funny. But Walt also had a model railroad that he built in his backyard, and this is not like a tabletop model railroad like what we have, but or like what most people have. This is something that a person would take time and painstakingly build by hand, and just go to a store and buy the parts for it. They built it by hand, and it's small, but still big enough for people to ride on it. Just big enough for people to actually sit on the cars, and the engineer would sit on the coal tender of it and drive the locomotive around the yard. So it was a no joke kind of a thing that he was into, and he built that railroad in his backyard, Walt Disney did, and he called it the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad. And you can actually see, if you ever go to Wilderness Lodge at Walt Disney World, in I think it's in the villas section, they have an area called the Carrollwood Pacific Room, and there are actually two of the train cars that were part of Walt Disney's actual backyard model railroad on display in that room.
I've actually they had for a while one of the trains in the Wilderness Lodge proper. I think it was just there for a little while.
Yeah, I don't think it's there anymore.
But yeah, it's he had a just a love for trains that but Walt was a dreamer. That's for one thing we can say. And Walt Disney doesn't deserve one episode. Walt deserves a lot more than one. But he was a dreamer, and I think trains just stirred up dreams in him too. Just this grip on something so big, and yet
And we mentioned on a previous episode the movie The Great Locomotive Chase that was built while Walt Disney was still producing a lot of those films. And I think definitely his love for trains he was inspired by that true story that story that is based on, and had to make a movie out of it. And it's a good story.
It's really neat. So he did everything to bring it in. The train, of course, is maybe some of you know is well, it's a very principal thing that happened in the United States history. Without trains, there wouldn't have been the connection between the western and eastern half of our country, the Intercontinental Railroad. He was born in Missouri, so a lot of is that right? Yeah, Missouri.
Yes.
And so railways were incredibly important, especially in the eras that he grew up in. And so he just had to incorporate that in his park. Where do you know where the other train rail is inside of Walt Disney World Resort?
You talking about the one at the Animal Kingdom?
That's right. Yeah, that's the second rail line.
And again, those are like Disneyland's locomotives. Those locomotives were built to order.
Yeah, that is the second one in that. It's pretty. I was just looking at how many Disneyland locomotives they had. They have quite a few, and they all are quite different from each other. That's a whole other thing. Disneyland is something that I don't know anything about other than it exists. That is on the list of places I want to hit, but we're going to focus on transportation over here today. Have you ever taken? No, go ahead.
I was going to say there was another fun fact about the Walt Disney World Railroad is the cars that form up the trains behind the locomotives. 3 of them are regular, and they use during the park hours to move guests from Main Street to Frontierland to Fantasyland and back to Main Street. But there's actually one train full of cars that had but one purpose, and that was the opening show, because they used to do the opening show at the train station, not at the castle like they do now. And that particular set of cars was designed so that the characters could board that train, show up at the Main Street station, and exit off of the side separate or opposite of the train station itself and do their show. So unlike most of the trains where you could get on one side of the car and you'd have to get off that same side, that particular train, you could do it both ways.
Wow, I
because it
didn't know
was
that.
specifically designed for that purpose. Yep.
That's really neat. I didn't realize that they switched it. That
Yep.
oh, that's cool. All right, so we've talked about the trains. There, that maybe that'll have to be an episode sometime that we really go down into that. But looking at the buses, I would say with what they do with busing, they probably are better organized with busing than some major American cities. Would you think that's correct?
Yes, I would, with few exceptions. I will say I've had some interesting times on their bus system at a couple of the resorts, or going from park to park, but otherwise it's a very good system.
Yeah, the buses will connect you from every resort to every park. But the buses will connect you to the Disney Springs, and then even from Disney Springs, after certain hours, will connect you to the various. I don't know if they go from Disney Springs straight to parks,
They
but they
don't.
go. But you can take a bus from Disney Springs to a resort, and from resort to a park.
Yeah.
And so the busing is great. Justin and I have a tradition where if one of us sees a bendy bus,
Bendy buses.
we'll we'll we try to take a picture and send it to the other, or at least text each other that we saw a bendy bus.
Yeah, that's one thing. In all your stats you looked up, did you find out how many bendy buses there are in the fleet?
You know what? I didn't look up how many bendy buses there are. I should have found that out. There are. Let's see. What is a Nova bus? Oh, that's a bendy bus.
Nova bus is a bendy bus. Well, we found out its
So
original
there you
name.
go.
We are
They
not
got
going to use it, but we found out its original name.
Yeah, so the Nova buses are bendy buses. A bendy bus is a bus that well bends in the middle.
Yes, it has two axles in the front portion that has like an accordion thing connecting to a back portion that has another axle on it. So, yep.
I think those bendy buses mostly come from the All Stars and then go straight to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah,
I
all
don't know.
all-star resorts. I've even seen them marked for Pop Century as well. But yeah, it's definitely a value resort because you've got a whole lot more people and a lot tighter space all going to the park, so you need more bus capacity.
Yeah, so and because they're hauling people, the bendy buses, that's what they do. What's really neat about them is that the busing now, they've changed their buses over the years constantly. But they're always in good shape. Every bus driver I've met has always been really kind, and some of them make it really fun.
Yeah.
They have a thing where I don't. Justin, have you seen this? Where if a girl is or a boy is done up, well, a girl is done up as a princess or a boy is done up as a pirate, and girls can be done up as pirates too. They'll play like special music on the bus as they board.
I have not noticed that.
Yeah, so if a girl goes to the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique and gets done up as a princess, when she comes on the bus, they were doing this for a while. I hope they still do it. They would play a music and say like a princess is on board, and then if
Oh,
a child came up dressed up as a pirate, they'd play a pirate theme, and then they would say like something equivalent to that. You could look into that. Maybe that's changed, but they were doing that for a while where we were like, that's just really cool. Some bus drivers are more interactive.
yeah.
Some are straight up business. To be honest,
Yeah.
both of those things are fine with me.
Yep.
Um, some I maybe they have business days and maybe they have more magical days. And you know
I'm
what? I
sure
can
they
understand.
do.
I'm sure that just like regular people in that respect. And you see that they're very professional. They've been installing bus only roads now, like especially as you go to Disney Springs, they have bus lanes, which is neat, and also a nice safety feature. Um, every one of the Disney buses will lower itself to the ground so that people can get in and off and on easier. And also, they're all handicap accessible, which I don't have anyone like that in my family. Well, actually, I do now that I'm thinking about it. But I appreciate that they do that. You know,
Yeah.
they're that's the one thing that the buses have, I think, over all the other systems. They can get people who are wheelchair bound onto the monorails, but it takes a little longer. The buses don't. There's no delay. The bus will literally lower itself so you can get on it very easily.
Yep.
Um, And I appreciate that. They're really neat. They're now doing the scrims on the side where, just like we are talking the monorails, they'll have the various different movies. The Fab Five will show up.
Mm-hmm.
Which does that include? So it's Mickey, Minnie, Pluto, Donald, and Daisy.
Mm-mm.
No,
You
not
messed
Daisy.
up.
It's Goofy.
Yeah, the Fab Five are Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Pluto, and Goofy. And once you put Daisy into the picture, it becomes the Sensational Six.
Well, why isn't she included? Because she was invented like a year after Donald was.
I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
Yeah, that's like how like Tinkerbell sometimes counts as a Disney princess and sometimes she doesn't,
I don't know.
according to official literature.
Yeah, yeah. All depends on where you look and what source you're looking at and how quickly it's been updated.
Let's not talk about canon, shall we? You want to get people fired up? Talk about canon. There, to quote a internet website, does canon mean nothing? The strong bad line.
Yes.
It's
Not a sponsor.
not a sponsor. Yes, I think that was D&D Greg. Does canon mean nothing?
Anyway.
So the buses are really great. So what are your experiences on them, Justin?
Largely, I've had positive experiences. I do know that because I think, in my opinion, bus drivers have to put up with some of the most interesting guests that kind of can give them a hard time and everything, especially in the late evening hours or in the early morning hours where people are either in a hurry to get to the park or in a hurry to get back, or they're just really tired and beat. They deal with some interesting people. So I try to go out of my way to thank the bus driver every single time when we go somewhere on a bus. Uh, Having stayed largely at the deluxe resorts, but I have stayed at Pop Century too, which is a value resort. I've had a lot of good experiences on the bus, and they seem to really have a good network going there, and it's definitely better than it used to be. I know when they were just getting it started, different areas, depending on where you're coming from, probably the bus wasn't your best or most reliable transportation option, but it's definitely gotten a whole lot better over the years, and it just seems to me it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the busing starts anywhere between an hour to 45 minutes before the first park opens. And they will
Actually, it
go.
starts like 2 hours before the park opens, I believe, sometimes.
I know that for Disney Springs, they'll run those buses until like 2 in the morning.
Yep.
And
Well,
they will sometimes do that for the parks too, depending on their hours.
that's the one thing worth noting about Disney transportation is that don't if you're ever in a theme park and the theme park is closed and everybody's doing the mass exodus thing, just take your time. There's no hurry. Stroll through a Main Street shop if you're in the Magic Kingdom, for instance, or whatever. Grab an ice cream cone if you can, and just take your time. If you're able to, and watch the crowds just go by and do their mass exodus, because trust us when we say this, Disney is not going to leave you stranded in their theme park. They're going to keep running buses and whatnot until every last man, woman, and child has left the theme park.
Yeah, and a good thing to note about the busing, air conditioned.
Yes, you like to point that out for some reason. I don't. Does it hot in Florida or something? I don't
You know,
understand.
some might say it's a little warm down here, and as of today, we hit in the 90s for the second day in the row.
Okay.
So summer in April has already begun. It'll be full summer by the end of this month, and according to what I've been reading, summer has come early this year. So there's that.
All right. Well, we haven't touched on certain boats, and we haven't touched on the Skyliner, which is their newest form of transportation.
Now you've actually been on the Skyliner.
I have been on the Skyliner multiple times, and I actually have a fun story for that, perhaps for another time.
But
because it's
here's a
kind of
question before you get about the Skyliner proper. Have you ever been on the Skyway?
oh, back when that was going in the Magic Kingdom years
Yeah.
ago. Yes, I think I was on that once before they shut it down to make room for other things. Yes.
All right. So the Skyway predates the Skyliner. But tell us about the Skyliner.
Oh my goodness. The Skyliner, I gotta say, surprisingly, even in the heat, if the thing is moving, there's no air conditioning on there. I know that's Dave's favorite. He loves to talk about his air conditioning. There's no air conditioning on the Skyliner. But if it's moving up in the sky, it's vented and everything, so it's moving, the air is flowing, you don't even feel the heat. If for some reason it has to stop, which does happen on occasion on a good day, that they have experienced a few bad days where it just the system flat out broke down. You hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, it'll get hot in there really quick. But still, you're talking about an amazingly fast form of transportation. We took it from the new Riviera Resort to Hollywood Studios and back multiple times. And it was a nice, smooth, quiet, I can't stress that enough, quiet ride, way up in the air, lots to see while you're up there and everything, and it's smooth. Just I really like it. I think they did a good job with that, and they did a pretty good job working out the kinks.
I was since we would be going up and in and out when they were putting it up, watching them build the thing. You saw them; they put a lot of work in the construction of that, and it connects parts of the park parts of the Walt Disney World Resort that only were previously connected by busing, and giving them alternate options and getting to places. So you could, from the Art of Animation Resort, formerly only able to get to other places by bus, hop on that and go to Epcot or go to Disney Hollywood Studios. And if you really wanted to have a day, you can go from the Art of Animation Resort all the way to Epcot, walk to the front of the park, and then go to Magic Kingdom. That would be quite an adventure. Maybe that's something we should do.
That's what I call running the gauntlet. And before the Skyliner, I did do the start at Magic Kingdom, monorail to Epcot, friendship boat from Epcot to Hollywood Studios, and then bus from Hollywood Studios to Animal Kingdom just for the fun of it. I did do that one day, and that was definitely interesting. I got in a lot of steps in that day.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how you could do it. You could so say you started an Epcot resort and you took a boat to Hollywood Studios. From Hollywood Studios, you took a boat to Epcot. From Epcot, you took the Skyliner to, I guess, no, you wouldn't have to take the Skyliner. You take the Skyliner to, no, I'm trying to think how you could do it.
I would try to use all the transportation
options. Yeah, how can you use
day?
every single piece of transportation?
I believe there might have to be. Oh, I think, you know what you could do? No, that wouldn't work either.
If you were to start, say, at the Pop Century, go to Hollywood Studios by Skyliner. From
there you go.
Proceed to the boat and take the boat from Hollywood Studios to Epcot.
Take the monorail from Epcot to Magic Kingdom and take the bus from Magic Kingdom to Animal Kingdom.
Yes. Or it's going to say, oh, well, no, you already took a boat, so you don't have to take a boat. Yeah, then you take the bus to wherever you want to go from there.
Yeah.
You could hit up all the parks in about 4 hours. No, it'd be less than that.
It could be. It all depends.
And then you take a minivan from Animal Kingdom Park
back to Pop Century.
Or to Disney Springs, or to the water parks, and you're done.
Oh, gosh. Oh, boy.
And then the unsung hero that we haven't talked about at all is if you play golf, you could use a golf cart. Take the minivan to the golf courses. At the golf course, you rent a golf cart, and boom, I think we've covered everything. Every piece of transportation that you could be on. Sans the Disney yacht that you can go on the Seven Seas Lagoon.
Yeah, that's going to charge you a pretty penny.
You ever been tempted by that?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I've been tempted by it. I mean, we did go to Victoria and Albert's, for crying out loud.
Okay, yeah.
But I've been tempted by it, but then I also remember that my wife gets motion sickness on the water. I mean, I'm sure Disney would handle that pretty well, but just in case. Not sure I want to spend that kind of money on something where my wife's going to get sick.
Yeah. Potentially we can go even further with our transportation thing. So you
Uh,
fly into Orlando.
okay, and the episode is over, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
wait, hold on. You fly into Orlando, you hop on a bus to the Disney Cruise Line.
Uh,
You take the cruise ship around, the Western Caribbean. You come back, and then you take the bus back to the Walt Disney World Resort, and then you do all that stuff we just said. And not only have you been on every boat, you've actually been on every boat.
oh my goodness. Well, on that happy note, I think it's about time to wrap it up.
All right, I'll stop playing. All right, Justin, we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks for listening.